I'm going to take my horse to the old town road. Oh, sorry guys, I was just practicing my karaoke. Hang on though. If you ever been in a meeting and come out of the meeting feeling more confused than when you went in, keep listening. I certainly have done much of that in my career, and I have been using a pattern that's been really helping with that using AI. So here, let me tell you about it. It's totally awesome. And the good news is it's pretty straightforward to do. I will show the particular tooling I've been using, but if you have ChatGPT, if you have some way to create meeting transcripts, this applies to you. So it's all very attainable. So I've created a fictional scenario here using just my own company here, which is Lexington. It's my consulting company. And at the top of the hierarchy, of a system is very, very high up at the top is the actual goals of the system. So having a purpose document that really outlines what your company is all about is great to be able to reference in AI later as we get into the more tactical stuff that boils all the way down to like specific meetings. So it just talks about the highest level parts of your business, strategy, KPIs. Next, I'd like to go into, let's say we have a big project that we're working on. This could be a client for me. This is just a fictional example, but the idea here, DevSync, and they're trying to do AI churn prediction, for example, and expansion. This would be an outline. You should have this sort of documentation, I imagine, with whatever projects you're working on. That's fingers crossed. Hopefully that's the case to help you focus. So this is like the particular project. Maybe this is, a 90-day type of engagement. For you at your company, maybe that's 6 months, whatever it is. So we have these sorts of things that talk about how we want the project to go and what constitutes success, things like that. So this is very helpful to be able to reference at every stand-up, at every meeting, right? This is what we're trying to do as a company. So let me jump into the next one, which is like boiling down all the way to the tasks. So this is where you want to be able to reference this at the day-to-day level when you're jumping into like a stand-up. And this would usually be like in Jira or linear, and I can certainly talk about ways to make this connection happen. But here, for make this faster, it's in the format here inside of this note, inside of Obsidian, this note-taking app, and just has checklists for things in a very simple form. So, okay, here's the cool part. We were just in Obsidian, and that creates these markdown files. They just are on your computer. Here we're looking at the same files, but just using this code editor, what's usually a code editor called Cursor, and it has AI sort of built in. And so what we'll be able to do is look at those files, which outline our company goals, our project goals, and then even our day-to-day. That's what these checkboxes are, like our day-to-day tasks that we're working through as a team. And what we'll do is we'll take a transcript of our stand-up, just for the day, where a lot of times we're all like not paying close attention, whatever it is, it's hard to do. And we take the transcript and we say, hey, is there a lack of alignment? Is there anything that we need to be worried about here, given this kind of like stack of priorities? Like we have this, high level of the entire company all the way down to this day-to-day view of our tasks. Is there anything that's out of alignment with those? And so I'll just show how that can look. So here's our stand-up. This uses an app called Granola, which is a great note-taking app, and it can record, Google Meet or Zoom calls or whatever it is, or in person, you can just put it on the table. So provided that you're okay with that, obviously work through that with your team. Some things you want to be transcribed, some things you don't. You want those totally offline. That's great. In this case, let's just assume this is something that actually we all recognize is going to be really helpful to capture. So we have the transcript, and let's just grab the transcript. Okay, so I made this a little bit bigger. So the idea is here's our task list, and we could have a simple prompt like this that we could store for later if we want. And you can see we're just saying like highlight potential lack of alignment based on the stand-up that we just had with our DevSync project, and also as the mission as a company even. So we would just paste in our transcript, right? Here's what happens. All right, now let's see what. So while this is happening, the other thing that's cool about using Cursor just for this particular use case is that you're able to switch different models. If you really wanted something that didn't go into the big guys like OpenAI, you could use a open source model that's hosted somewhere that doesn't retain any data, for example. So you have that leverage, which is really nice. And you can also just sort of A/B test between these different models to see which one feels like highlights things that are most important to you. Okay, so this is doing a lot. I'm gonna have to open this window up so we can read through some of it. We don't need to read through all of this, but it's really just to highlight the big point. So quick gap check. It traces what we talked about. Okay, so Sarah, who's one of our senior AI consultants, already thinking about Vertex AI feature and AutoML tables. This is all fictional stuff, so it's news to me, just like it's news to you. So finish a data quality scorecard and gap list first, then decide tooling. So this is the kind of thing, right? Like the risk lock in GCP, cloud solution before we know if the data is clean. So there's a risk there. So anyway, this would just go through and within seconds. You saw how long it took to actually generate this. It was super quick. So hopefully you see some of the value that I've been finding lately, which is just it highlights this lack of alignment. I call it the alignment eagle. I think that's a fun name. So you have this alignment eagle that swoops in, right? Make sure you're doing things that are in alignment with your project and your company and whatever else. So I want to show that. And then also just as a little bonus of using this particular set of tools, let me just show you something. So you can also use this just to reflect onto your own thinking in a way you probably already do in like ChatGPT. But so we've done some writing here around what an ethics framework could look like for the type of work we're doing. Make sure we feel good about the way the AI is being used. We should all be thinking about this. And the cool thing is, so we'll flip back to cursor. And what we can do is say, let's use a different model. So we created this ethics framework using one model. Let's switch to a different one. We'll grab Gemini and say critique this ethics framework and suggest how it might improve. So here's the critique, overall good starting point. Here's some ways that it could be better. And what we can do is say propose changes to the document. Those changes. So here's the part that I think is super cool. When you're working on your document, if you're a software person, you've dealt with this format before, where you have a line by line, it sort of tells you what the suggested changes are, and you can just walk through these and see what it's suggesting. And this is something that even if you're using ChatGPT, you don't quite get the same level of granularity or this workflow. And so that's why actually using this tool, Cursor, and similar tools, along with a sort of AI chat interface, can be super powerful, because you can pinpoint exact documents that you want to reference, and then you can also go through line by line and see what these changes are. You can reject it, accept it, suggest updates to it, and just get a much better control and visibility into what changes the model is suggesting, and use different models and all these different things. You can also reference style guides. You could create your own style guide very easily, and just at that document, that would just be another document that lives inside of your note system. You just reference that, and next thing you know, it's able to get a better approximation of what your voice would sound like. If you're running a team and you run into some of this lack of alignment issues, which I think we all do, this is, I think, a really powerful tool to be able to help with that. And so if you want to do a case study, reach out. I'd be totally interested to see what this looks like in the context of your team and your particular challenges. Just let me know. I'd be more than willing just to jump in and let you know how I might tackle that problem, and hopefully it goes good places for you. And I'd love to be able to just even write about it or capture some of the insights that you have from use with your team. Thank you. Take care.